Okay, I'm going to try and do a quick video, not my strong suit, I know, but we're going to share here how to make your clay houses just so that you have a quick review, and I want to touch on a couple of things so that you can do this with the sub today. So, tools you're going to need: fork, knife, pokey tool or skewer of some sort. You don't need all these right now, but eventually you will. And then a clay slab. So I have pre-rolled these slabs, so you just need to grab one once this video is done and the sub tells you when. And then you're also going to need a toilet paper roll. So what we're going to do is this toilet paper roll is going to provide the skeleton for our house. In clay we call that an armature. It's what holds it up and makes sure it stays steady. So I'm going to use this and I'm going to mark out where my top and bottom of this are. And specifically, I just need to make a little mark right here, and then as I roll this along, I just make that light mark. I'm not trying to cut through. I'm showing, okay, that line is the bottom of my toilet paper roll. So then I'm going to do the same thing on the top. I'm just rolling it. I'm not trying to cut all the way through. I'm just marking that line. And now that I have those two lines, now I'm going to use my knife, and I'm going to cut all the way through the clay along that line. If you make a mistake and it's not perfect, that's okay. Clay is very flexible. I'm going to cut through this bottom line, just like so, and then I'm going to peel those sections off. Now don't get rid of these, we're going to need them later. I'm going to set them off the camera here. I'll peel this off, set it aside. Then I'm going to pick one end. I'm going to choose this end just because I don't have as much waste. I'm going to cut a straight edge on this end. Don't need to measure, just need to make a straight edge. Again, save these pieces. We'll use those in a bit. Now I have the basic outline for my house. And what I need to do is take my toilet paper roll, I'm going to gently pull this up, and wrap it, the clay, around the toilet paper roll. Just like this. And once I can see that the clay wraps all the way around, I'm going to make a little mark so that I know, okay, here is where I can stop rolling. Now notice I did leave a little bit of extra space. I didn't mark that right where it ends because I need to attach those two pieces. So I'm going to lay this flat again, and I'm going to know, okay, you can use your knife or a scratchy tool just to mark out. Whoops, should have used my knife. Okay, and I didn't try and cut through. I'm just marking. This is about where I need the end of my clay to be. So I need at least this much clay. At this point, I can either cut it in a straight line, or I can make kind of a wavy side to give more of a wavy look to the edge of my house. I kind of like that look. Your mileage may vary. You can choose what you want. But I'm going to grab my knife, and I'm going to make a wavy line here. And then I'm going to come back, cut it off right there. I'm going to peel this apart, set it off to the side. Okay, and I'm going to roll this again just to test and make sure my fit is good. I'm going to lift this up so you can see. Okay, that looks pretty good. So I do have some overlap here, which is what I want. Now, I'm going to unroll it, and you'll remember the way to attach clay is to scratch and attach. Or you can say score and slip. I personally like score and slip because those are the same terms I use in high school, but if it helps you remember it, scratch and attach works too. So where I'm seeing, and right here, I can see where that clay has hit when it rolls up. You can see that's where it's bumping into, okay? And I can even draw that with my little scratchy tool if I want. So all of this section needs to be scratched. So I'm just going to scratch, 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 all along here, and I'm doing it in a couple of directions. I don't want to go all the way through, but I do want to go fairly deep, because what I'm doing when I'm scratching and attaching is making that clay join together like it's never been apart, and that's the goal. Okay, so I'm going to roll this up again one more time because I want to get a measurement of, okay, so I need to know where does my piece end. I'm going to grab my little tool here. I'm going to lightly scratch in a line so that I know, okay, this line right here, it's kind of hard to see. That's the part that's going to be under this flap. So I want to scratch it up too. By measuring it like that, I made sure that I'm not scratching an area that I'm going to have to fix later. If you make a mistake and you go too far out, it's not a big deal. You'll just smooth it out with your finger. Okay? So now this is ready to attach, but before I do that, I want to show you something that you have the option to use. So I will have these rollers out, and these are a good way if you want to add some texture to your house. You don't have to use them, but it's an option. So let me show you what this might look like. I'm going to grab, which one do I like? I'm going to grab this one because it kind of has these pebbles type things, so it's like polka dots. Then I'm going to flip my clay over so that this is the side I'm going to see. And if I grab this roller, I can just push down lightly, and when I roll that across, I get a nice pattern or a texture. And then I can push a little harder if I want it to be a little deeper. I can roll that a couple of times. And so there I've got a decent pattern or a texture for my house. I kind of like that. I'm going to leave it for now. Jumping back over, we're going to stick this toilet paper roll back in it. That's our armature. It's our skeleton to provide support. I'm going to roll this up a little bit, grab my cup of water. I'm going to use my finger and dip in just a little bit of water. I don't want this soaking wet, just a little bit damp, guys. If it's like dripping, you've got too much. You don't want to do that. You can also use a fork to score and slip or scratch and attach. And I like to go over it a little bit after I've added that water. Then you're just going to roll those two together. And you're going to give it a good push. You might have to stick a finger or two inside the toilet paper roll, and you're going to push pretty firmly here. Okay? I'm really wanting to like smash these together, and I know if I mess up some of my texture, I can add that back on later. But if I don't get these attached well and they come apart, I can't fix that later unless they're still wet. Okay, and so we're pushing, pushing, pushing. You'll notice all along here, I'm pushing to where I don't have any gaps. I just want that to seal up nice and tight. Just like this. Okay, and that looks pretty good. It's sealed up here and here. I could even push a little bit more there. And then you can either choose to leave this edge or you can smooth this edge in. So I'm going to show you just on half of mine. I would either leave it or smooth it. I wouldn't do half and half, but I want to show you what it looks like. So if I wanted to smooth an edge, I just take my finger and just smooth that together. And initially it looks really bad, but that's okay because I just need to keep smoothing it. And pretty soon it'll look like it was made that way and all put together, and I can just keep smoothing. You might have used water to do this in the past. This clay is still nice and fresh, so you shouldn't need any water to smooth things together. That just is going to make a sticky mess that you don't want to deal with. So either smooth it or keep it straight. I probably wouldn't do both unless you have a reason to do that. But there is our house. I want to show you one last little bit here of what you can do with this today. Then I'm going to show you a quick cleanup. And we got to keep moving because this video is getting long. So you can add texture at this stage also. If you have something that you want to do to make it look more like a house that has rocks or bricks or something, you can draw those in with a scratchy tool or a knife. Just be careful not to cut through it. I want to show you if you use like even the back side of this knife. Let me see if I can get this in. And just push in. You can give yourself some kind of cool texture, especially if you overlap those. And then we can just push those and keep repeating that. And it makes kind of a neat pattern. So experiment with this. Find out what you like the look of and try some things out until you get a texture you're happy with. If you want like a window or a door or something, let's say I want a window here, just draw it on. I'll say, okay, my window's right here. And then you have two options. You can either push that in or even scrape a little bit out. So like I can use this knife and scrape out some clay so that this window goes in. And then I can just scoop that out I have to be careful doing this because I don't want it to go all the way through. If you do want a window that goes all the way through, mark it out. We're going to do that next week when I'm back and can be here with you. But if you just want it to be inset a little bit, you can scrape out just a little bit of clay. And you can kind of push the rest down with your finger. And so you've got like a, kind of a window shape there. If you would rather attach something to the outside, you can do that too. So let's go back to that clay we had, my extra. And let's say I want to make a shutter for my window. I'm just going to draw a line there. And I'm going to make a little rectangle here, just like this. And then I'm going to cut a couple of straight edges. And that looks decent. I'm in a hurry, so I'm going to say that looks pretty good. I'd probably want to flatten that out a little bit more because that's too thick. So I'm just going to give that a push. And then I've squished my nice rectangular window. So I'm going to push it again and go ahead and make it a little flatter. And I'm going to have to recut my rectangle, but that's okay. Here we go. Just like that. I'm going to keep all those little scraps together. Okay, that's pretty good. So there's my little rectangle. Notice I'm just putting all my scraps together. You can just ball those up so they don't dry out too much and set those off to the side. Now, so you can either carve in or you can build out. So I'm going to show you to build out. You do the same thing you did to attach the side. We score and slip or scratch and attach. So I'm going to grab my fork. I'm going to scratch this up all directions here. And then I'm going to figure out, okay, this is where it sits. So I need to come out to about here and up to about here and here. So this area gets scratched up too. And let's say I make a whoops. Whoops, I scratched too far. I'm going to show you how to fix that. Little bit of water. Remember, a tiny bit of water goes a long way. You don't want this dripping. You just want it slightly damp so that you can push those pieces together just like this. So I give that a little push. Then depending on what the piece is, you can either smooth the edges or leave it. I want that to stay, so I'm just going to rub it a couple of times to make sure my fingerprints are gone. That looks pretty good. So this area here where I scratched too far, you can always just come in with a finger, smooth it out. And then you can reapply texture or whatever else you want. It's not a big deal. Clay's really flexible. Okay, so your job today, roll your house, add some texture to the walls, score and slip or scratch and attach to make sure it's all sealed together, add windows, doors, fun little details that you want. Don't put them too close to the top because next Monday when I'm back with you, we're going to put a roof on these things and I'm going to show you how to do that. So when you're done here, you need one more thing if you haven't already done it. You need to put your initials on here, and so put them visible on the outside. So BE for me. I'm going to put BE, and then this whole little contraption, when you're done today, it's going to go back in the tote that you got these from. Make sure you're not bumping into somebody else's, and then your sub will make sure that lid is sealed nice and tight. All right.